Hello and welcome to The Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We're back as a moment of magic from Dominic Solanke, rescue Tottenham and maybe Thomas Frank for now. As it finished 2-2, a game firmly of two halves between Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester City. If you're with us for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. The big guns, they're back in the building. They're back in the building. Broadcaster extraordinaire Russ Williams returns to the screen, as does Richard Crackers. Cracknell will get there eventually.
Cracknell. Mitchy Cracknell. I quite like that. When I take over Russ's radio empire, I'm going to be, hey, Mitchy Cracknell.
You'll have a long wait. You'll have a long wait.
It's going to be like Colin Heston, isn't it? From his cold, dead hands.
That's it.
He ain't going nowhere yet, Mr. Richard Cracknell. Just to remind you that. Nowhere yet. Also,
not yet. Not going nowhere. Anyway. Honestly, we might as well have a laugh and talk about the bloody game.
We haven't really got to talk about this, have we? Also back on the show, Marlon is back. He's won the Kings. The Spurs Kings TV returns to the show. Look, as I mentioned there, guys, finished 2-2 against Manchester City. A game firmly of two halves. The first half was lifeless. It was gutless. Then the second half, a reminder that there is still life in this team after all. It was nice to see a bit of fight in this Tottenham team. And the home crowd applauded the team off at full time, despite booing them at half time. Standouts, Xavi, Solanke, Polina, Gallagher and Gray, particularly I thought were outstanding. And credit to a very makeshift team, which was missing 12 senior first team players. A real makeshift side. What that means for Tottenham in what was being broadcasted as relegation watch, we are now 9 points clear of the bottom of the Premier League. Can we finally start looking up rather than down? Some interesting also stats for you out there before we bring in these wonderful gentlemen. Thomas Frank's win percentage as Spurs head coach after that draw has now dropped to 29.2%, putting him now 18th out of the 21 Spurs managers in Premier League history. But equally as crazy as that was Tottenham's most dominant Premier League half, the second half, since the first half of the start of the season at home to Burnley on the opening day. And we'll come on to the stats right now. Tottenham, the 12 shots to City's 15. Tottenham, 6 shots on target to City's 3. Tottenham, 26 touches in the City box as opposed to the 30. Tottenham, they missed one big chance during the game to City's 2. We edged the tackling, 23-22. City, the busier of the two sides in terms of clearances, 25-18. Also busier in terms of the keeper saves, 4-1. City, very much dominant in possession, 61% to Tottenham's 39%. Tottenham bringing an XG of 1.17, which 0.04 of that was Dominic Solanke's Scorpion goal to Man City's 2.19. So work that out, how you make of that. And quite interestingly, Man City, they failed to win a match. They led by 2+ goals in a half-time for the first time since April 2018. These Manchester United. And before this game, they had won on each of their last 115 occasions when leading by 2 goals plus at the break in all competitions. And just to put it in perspective, look, of course, please see Tottenham come back in the game, but we're facing a Man City side that have only had 1 win in their last 6. So look, it's a damning indictment, you'd say, of City's fragility that they allowed a Spurs team to come back with real energy, hunger, desire in the second half. And let's get the guys taking it. Before we do, thanks already to the over nearly 5,000 that are tuning into us live. Thank you so much. Yes, towards the end of the show, we'll provide you with a January transfer window update. As of this moment, that's just a tumbleweed running past the screen. Everyone looks stunned at me saying that, but we'll try and provide you one if there is one.
Wait, Rick, when January transfer window's open, when did that happen? Who opened that?
Well, it's closing before you knew it.
When's it shut? I haven't heard about it. We must have a month at least, didn't we, to get all our deals done?
I think we started this early, Craigs. We'll bring you an update later on the show if there is one. Okay, well, if there is one, we'll bring you an update later on during the show. Guys out there, please like, hype, subscribe to the show. Crackers open with you. It feels like a buoyant Richard Cracknell. Give him a minute, we'll certainly find out. Look, was an excellent second half from Spurs. Xavi showing the kind of form that was really what you felt Spurs signed him for. A real, I would say at the moment, Champions League form pedigree showing. I thought Polina showed real importance to the side, but also deserving mentions for Solanke, Gray, Gallagher too. Crack's thoughts on a crazy game of two halves, right? Crazy game of two halves.
It was just bananas, Rick, wasn't it? How do you even begin to analyse, make sense of that game, this club, this season, this manager? We're just all over the place, aren't we? We're just either Baywatch or Crime Watch at the moment. We're either Tommy Hilfiger or Benny Hilfiger. It's just like, I just don't know what to make of us, Rick. That first half, I mean, that's as low as I can ever remember. Really, really is. It was.
We do keep saying that every week, though, Cracks. We do keep saying that line every week.
Exactly. It is. As somebody just said, they want to Crackers analogy. I mean, first half was literally, you've gone to a restaurant and you've been brought out a burnt salad. I mean, your main course is really that terrible. And you're thinking, oh, my God, why did I book this place? And then all of a sudden, out comes dessert of the second half of your meal. And there it is, like the most wonderful tiramisu or cheesecake. It's just crazy, Rick. Just absolutely crazy. I just don't know what to make of it. Where we are, who we are. But there's some performances in amongst that today as well. Gallagher, here we go. I can hear the XG laptop slapping shut now. I'm ready, or opening, ready to give me another good kicking over this. He brought some enthusiasm and some energy and was around the park. And at the moment, that's something we need. We absolutely need. He was terrific. Solanke, brilliant. And you think to yourself, okay, now we've got Solanke back, a goal scorer back, and we look like we can do something. Then you think to yourself, well, what about when we get Maddison back or a Kulusevski back or a few others? I think at this stage as well, Rick, I'd like to offer a very heartfelt, sincere apology to one Mr. Ange Postecoglou, because all last season there I was saying, well, it's his training methods that's causing this and it's causing that. Well, clearly, pardon my French, that seems to be a load of old bollocks, doesn't it? Because that's just clearly not the case. So there's something going on within this squad. Yes, I know there's a lot of squads that are suffering injuries. I don't know. Maybe this is no worse than a few other squads, but we feel it so much because we're so threadbare with the squad. Once you scratch below that 11, then the quality does drop off, which is what we saw with the 2 goals that we gave away in that first half. That's just a player quality issue. But then conversely, the spirit that team showed in the second half was also quite magnificent. So I don't know. It's just a conundrum week after week after week of who we are, what we are, and where we are. But you do kind of think to yourself, there is a team in here. There is a team between what we've got. There is some amount of team that can go out there and take a game to most other teams, other squads in this Premier League. So I just think, Rick, we're just a little bit of box A, box B, box C. The club not buying players over the last few windows. The manager not being brave enough. The players, don't get me started on them two, Rick. That please, honestly, don't. No, actually, put that picture back up. I'm going in on these pair. They're getting it. That's it. I'm done. Look at these two. Do you know what they remind me of? do you know, have you ever gone to apply for something or gone to the council or gone to the bank? And do you know the person that comes out and goes, "Oh, hello, Mr. Sachs. Yeah, we've had a look and we've reviewed your case and we've taken a look at the paperwork and we're really sorry that we can't offer you any help at the moment." They look like that, don't they? They just look like bearers of bad news, pen pushing, over officious, that type. Do you know what them two remind me of? If you was to go out, a group of 10 of you, go out for a meal and you have some drinks, you have something to eat, and the bill comes up, there's 10 of you and the bill comes out, 400 quid on the nose. You've all had something to eat, you've all had something to drink, yeah? You, I and everybody else would turn around and go, okay, right, look, throw 43 quid in each, 400, that covers the bill, and then there's 30 quid for the waiter because he's been really good. Not that pair. Oh, no, out comes the calculator. Oh, Maureen had a prawns cocktail and Dave only had the pate on toast. And for main course, but Terry had a Caesar salad, but Dave had the steak. So that's them, isn't it? That is them. They'd have their calculator out going, well, Dave's got to pay him £37.20 and Maureen's got to give 40. That's them. Honestly, just don't put them up anymore. Carry on, Rick. I'm rambling.
Russ, let me come over to you, mate. Lovely to be back on the show. Look, I mean, what a difference Solanke makes, right? I mean,
yes.
He's had 3 goals in his last 4 games, and at the 2 second-half goals, they earned Spurs a point against the Man City. You know, even though, look, we had lots of key players missing for injury, I thought, as I mentioned, the likes of Gallagher, Xavi, I thought they was exceptional during the game. And look, we've already said it. It's a makeshift. It's an understrength Spurs side that there's a lot of square pegs in round holes. But look, credit because they gave everything, you know, during that second half. First half, look, leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, you were saying it off there. Russ, we're saying it's off there, you know.
Well,
we're
second
now
half. Second half, the bare minimum, Rick, that we expect every game.
Yeah.
Irrespective of who's playing. So let's have that right straight away. I mean, I'm very, very disappointed that we haven't got 3 points against Man City because we normally do. And I think we should see this result as a failure, to be honest with you. But because this is a poor City team.
1 win in 6. It's a 1 win in 6 team. 1 win in 6.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to win the Premier League. There's absolutely no way, but they are pretty poor. But they've got a very good squad, but for some reason they're not playing. We haven't got a good squad, but we showed, you know, a lot of balls really in the second half, and a bunch of players who are definitely playing for the manager at the moment. And excuse me, you know, we've got to be happy with the point. It's another point towards safety. Incidentally, I think if you look at our goal difference, we're 10 points really away from the danger area, because I think that's what it means with that goal difference in reality. But, you know, when you look at the football, not really that Arsenal are playing, but if you look at Chelsea in the second half, they played some really good football. Liverpool, Newcastle in the first half last night. We are not playing football at that level. And I think we would all recognise that. But that being said, to get the result that we got today, because we could have folded, couldn't we? Let's be honest. At half-time, booed off, heads were down. Manager probably didn't know what on earth he was going to do, but somehow rallied the troops, lost his captain to illness, I understand, at half-time. And lo and behold, you know, we came out. The first goal, I think, and I think we're going to talk about it later, I think we might have been fortunate to actually get that goal. VAR didn't actually do their job properly there, thank God. So it counted for Dom. The second goal was quite unbelievable. And I have been critical of Dom Solanke, as regular viewers and listeners will know. But that second goal, that finish alone was worth 25 million of his transfer fee. It was absolutely unbelievable. And I'll tell you the other thing that I think about Dom Solanke is I'm quite surprised how quickly he's got back up to speed after being out for so long. So he should take enormous credit for that as well. And he runs into the spaces, holds the ball up well. Nearly always, even though he's quite early back after that long injury, is in absolutely the right place, nearly, and will be after a few more games. Please God, the injury isn't bad. I don't know if you've heard anything, Rick, but full credit to him, really, because when the muck and bullets were flying, he put himself in there. Beautiful, beautiful cross from Conor Gallagher, who I thought was excellent today for us. Box to box, nuisance, terrier, oppressor. And, so many of them played well. Archie Gray at the back, I thought played really well. Polina was absolutely awesome. Xavi, we have a baller on our hands. Believe you me, and I think even his biggest critics are beginning to realise that this man.
Just get him a manager. Just get him a manager now, Russell. We might have half a chance.
Well, I mean, this is the point. I mean, I don't know what you lot think, and I'd love to know what the audience think. It has the feel that whatever happens, Thomas Frank is going to be our manager until the end of the season, unless there is an absolute catastrophe.
Yeah.
And then going forward, I'm not so sure what the plan would be. But going back to Cracker's absolutely beautiful description of Pinky and Perky, the couple of anoraks there, I mean, I think what we have to be mindful of is that we could be in a situation where we might be getting some new owners. Football finance, of course, Adam, isn't it? He would know a lot more about it than I would, and most of us watching and listening would. But let's not rule it out, because these people running our football club now have in no way demonstrated any willingness whatsoever to improve the culture of the club in terms of the playing staff, whether that means getting them out, the ones that aren't good enough, and there's enough of them, let's be honest. We need bare minimum, we're going to talk about it later, a couple of good loan players to come in tomorrow with options to buy as a bare minimum. Will it happen? Well, Thomas Frank says we'll have to wait and see. And then he smiled. So take that as you will. But overall, as Harry would say, we were down to the bare bones. I thought that the bench, I mean, if you looked at City's bench and ours, just look at those names.
Chalk and cheese.
Yeah, and that's no disrespect to our players. It is just what it is, but without getting too carried away, whilst we accept that the second half performance was much, 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 much better. It is really the bare minimum, in my view, of what every time they put the shirt on, how they should be playing football for this club. Every team has a bad game once in a while. We've had too many. And just to come and turn up in a 45-minute period, or, in a Champions League game when you're playing a ranked German team, and they weren't very good, but they got the job done. It isn't actually good enough for what we, the fan base, want, which is something to shout about. And in the second half, they played in a way the fans got right behind them again. And it was, a parallel of the night before at Stamford Bridge. Boos at halftime, elation come the end of the game, and I think that's how a lot of us felt. Blimey, we've got away with it. We've got a point here, and I'm pretty pleased. excuse me, with the result, but the first half performance. I mean, how they can even think that the club, the manager, the coaching staff, and the players, that to serve that up is remotely acceptable is absolutely beyond me, and I'm sure most of our fans.
Agree, Russ. Look, I think that I've said this before on the show, bringing Marlon in, that we've been starved of any real sign of decent football. That now you come to a point where when you get a 15-minute, 20-minute period, you feel like you exaggerate that because of just how long it's been since you've seen any real decent degree of good football. But what I will say, Marlon, to bring you in, never to have you back as well, mate, is after what we saw in the first half, and as we've said many, many times, I said to Crackers in the opening, we keep saying we can't see a worse first half performance than that. And then we see another one. And then we see another one. So look, fair play, I guess, to the Spurs players for getting us back into that. It was a much better second half, and it could end up being a really, really important, poignant point for Spurs. Dominic Solanke, what a goal, what his impact he's made. I mentioned it again, 3 goals in his last 4 games. Marlon, welcome back, because we wasn't too sure what kind of show you were going to walk back into. Thoughts on that overall display, Miles, before we come on to the manager and what it means for him and what we'd like to see done on deadline day, if anything, for Tottenham at the moment?
So look, I'm going to talk about the first half, and I'm going to talk about it slightly different to how everyone else has. And the reason why it was so poor was because of the formation that we ended up playing. Now, the reason, look, he obviously saw what happened in the last 3 games, and he kind of went, I need to play that formation again. The problem was that he come up against Rodri, Cherki, and Bernardo Silva, and you're leaving Bissouma and Conor Gallagher to look after those 3. It was never going to happen. And I think as everybody just kind of forgot, City are a quality team when they're on the ball, and it was like watching a training session. And and I looked at that first half, and I was like, I wouldn't boo. Look, personally, I would have booed them, but not in the sense of I weren't booing the players. I don't think it had anything to do with the commitment they were showing. They were just against the team, and who in their 3 midfielders. Because look, Bissouma gave away the first goal, okay, because of the intensity. There was no one there for him. Conor Gallagher was somewhere missing, so he was literally caught. Dragushin got caught as well. So I looked at it and I went, all he had to do, probably about half an hour in, was just move Paulinho in the middle to help those 3 out. Because the way Manchester City were able to just to play with the ball, move the ball, I didn't technically blame the players. And I didn't blame them for effort. And yes, it was a case of it looked as bad as it was, but we've got to remember, I think all of us have forgotten how good City are. And Cherki's been good over the past
They are, Miles, but he's only one win in their last 6 games. I think that's why maybe we're looking at that. I know we're injury ravaged ourselves. I get it.
We're injury ravaged. We had 2 midfielders in there. Bissouma hasn't played all year. And Conor Gallagher who's turned up for the last month. So I looked at it and went, Thomas Frank, you need to go help these boys out, because if you don't go and put someone extra in the middle, we are literally, Manchester City are just playing with us. And that is all it took, because for me, I saw bits and pieces where the players were trying, like Archie Gray, biggest critic, but I saw a good performance from the guy today. There was nothing, like, I'm not going to sit there. I will sit there and compliment him. The 2 players that just kind of stood out for me that kind of didn't really perform today was Bissouma and Kolo Muani. Those were the only 2 I went, no. But as soon as he changed that formation in the second half, whether it was tactical or Romero was sick, it doesn't really matter. As soon as he put an extra man in the middle and put Sarr in there, the game completely changed, because the players, there was someone spare in the middle. There was completely, Rodri and Silva, and they didn't have time on the ball now, because we were literally putting them under the cosh. But I tell you what was completely key to that second half, and this is where everyone will sit there and go, we've had Muani and Richarlison up front all season, but there's something different that Solanke brings. He will pressurize from the top, and you could clearly see the rest of the players bought into it, and it actually creates because Manchester City just didn't know what hit them, completely didn't know what hit them, and I wasn't surprised that we came back. And actually, when looking at the whole result, I think a lot of us fans could actually look at that second half and be disappointed that we only got a draw, because we had moments in that second half to probably go out and win it. Manchester City couldn't really put 2 things together. But first half for them, that's why it was a contrast of 2 halves, because Thomas Frank had to change it. And now I blame Thomas Frank for the first half, but then I also blame Thomas Frank for the second half. I have to give him credit where credit's due. And that's because the players, for me, there wasn't a difference in attitude. It was just more the case of they got help that they needed tactically to make them go and perform in the second half. And I think that was the slight difference into why we saw a difference in 2 halves, because that first half midfield, I'm sorry, but if you put 2 players, any Premier League put 2 players against that 3, Cherki, Rodri and Bernardo Silva, every team's going to suffer, because they are so good on the ball, and especially Cherki for the last month or so, he's literally turned in performances, if anyone knows how City have been playing. So that's why I didn't really, I came out of it going, yeah, you're not playing great, but it's more of a case of tactically just weren't there for you. And that was my take on the 2 halves.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, at the end of the day, Spurs, they've got themselves a point. In terms of what it means long term, we'll have to wait and see. But it does for Thomas Frank, again, give an indication that, as we've kept on saying, that I think there is some good players here that when they're allowed to play football, you can see what they're able to do. But I think the concern would be is that we're unable to put together two consistent halves of football. And look, you can look at the fact 100% we're without 12 senior first-team players. That's going to make a huge impact. Don't get me wrong. Of course, it's going to make an impact, but like Marlon said there, maybe it was, as you said there, Marlon, the tactical adjustment that we saw, the second half that we saw. But we know if this Tottenham team are going to have any degree of improvement in the second half of the season, we are going to have to see consistency in two halves of football, not one. Let's hear from Thomas Frank and what he's made of that game itself. And thanks again to the over 7,500 that are with us here for this game. Thank you ever so much for that. If you guys can always out there for us, like, hype, subscribe to the show, that would be greatly appreciated. Let's hear from the Dane, Thomas Frank, and what he made of that performance, that result against Manchester City.
Solanke, first, what did you think of his goals and his performance? And also, how is he? I think he said he rolled his ankle. I don't know if it's the same one or not.
That I don't know. The last bit I don't know. But he clearly also struggled to run. So we knew struggled to run fitness-wise. We knew before the game again it will be a big push to play 90. He's not there fitness-wise where he should be because he's been out for so long, and we've been in a way a little bit forced to play him. And I think it's pretty evident that he's relatively important for us. 4 goals in 4 games, with him being on his 70-80% of fitness and top sharpness. But imagine City playing without Haaland for 6 months. So I think we've been quite hard hit with injuries. In general. But Dom was excellent.
I'll ask about his 2 goals. First one maybe a bit controversial, and second one spectacular.
Yeah, first one, I think there's clear contact from him on it. We want in general a higher threshold. I understand it's in the grey area. I think if the Liverpool goal, Ikitiki, were in my opinion still 2 clear hands in the back of Romeo. So I think it's no grey areas. I'm very happy it finally dropped to us, which I think was more than fair. And the second one was something we of course trained yesterday, so it went well.
Just very quickly, Christian Romero, why did he come off at half-time?
Illness, so we are assessing him. Hopefully he's fine.
Thank you.
So it's just on Romero. Has he been ill just before this game, or did he struggle through the Frankfurt game as well?
He struggled through the Frankfurt game as well, and pushed through that with a fantastic captain's performance, and struggled a little bit, but it shouldn't be. We hope it's nothing. Yeah.
And the performance overall, what did you like most about the second half? I mean, it seemed like the team showed some balls, really. Is that what you liked?
Yeah, agree. I think I was extremely happy that we finally got a point out of a big second half, and it felt like a big point, of course, because we're playing against the team, the best team in Premier League last 7 years, something like that, 8 years. They're playing to compete for the title, and I said it before, this team's ability to respond to setbacks and show resilience, I think we are growing it bit by bit. And I think, and now it's game 11 since Nottingham Forest, where I think we are showing more consistency. We are more competitive. It's just going in the right direction. Not all the results have gone with us, but for example, I think it's been some good top performances and mentality against Bournemouth, West Ham, and Villa, but we just didn't get at least a point or something out of it. So now we get the point as well, on top of a good performance against Dortmund. More good than bad against Burnley. I know it looks bad because we only get a point, but the game we could and should easily have won with the chances we created, and a big performance against Frankfurt. So now we are building some of that, and we are, by the way, building it with, I don't know, players dropping left, right, and centre to injury. So we're ending a game with out 3 normal centre backs, 2 normal full backs. We play Archie and Xiao in the back 4. Dragosin plays his first game in 12 months, and Juna is coming on as a right midfielder. In the end, I think that shows everything about the team and what they're building. The players, very proud of the players.
Just finally on that, you've just underlined all the injury problems you've got. Obviously, tomorrow is the final day of the window. Do you expect to be active in that final day?
We are active. No doubt about that. If something happens, then let's see. Some of them we also have are hopefully Kuti, I hope is minor, nothing. Mickey, we hope is back for Man United, and Jetty is hopefully not too long.
Hi Thomas, such an impressive second half performance. I guess the question is, why can the team not do that from kick-off?
I wish I could, do like that. Then it'll be easy. It's not. I think now I need to look it back, of course. I think we did still some okay things first half, and we just make 2 mistakes. And they, by the way, punished the first one so hard after 12 minutes, which just makes it more difficult to come into a football game. But what I liked of second half was we were even more aggressive in the high pressure. And finally, the 50-50s landed a little bit more for us. It felt like everything landed for them first half. Middle pressure good, so not too much through us. And then we played more behind them and hurt them more in that way. And then how united the fans and the players were second half, that's what we need to build up. The fans helped us massively and pushed us towards a big point. And they were fantastic against Dortmund. So can we do that more and more consistent together? We can create some magic.
I mean, the fans here like the team to play front foot. I guess maybe some of them might worry that we only see this version of Spurs when they're kind of chasing a game, when they're kind of desperate to get back in it.
I think it's fair to say that we tried to be front-footed first half as well, but we just didn't land in all the high pressure situation. We didn't win them, and we are playing, by the way, against cities that's pretty good to keep the ball. I think we showed a lot of intention first half, just didn't land on it.
Thank you.
Xavi's been great in recent weeks, but was that his best performance for the team?
I think Xavi was exceptional today. He's a very good footballer, but he's probably even bigger winner and fighter. So the way he fight with the team is exceptional, and how he is part of driving the team forward, I think is very impressive.
Yeah, talking of Simmons, Wirtz also come from Germany and took a while. Do you think that it's, for players of that quality, it just still takes a lot of time to get used to the sheer physicality? Because they both look good in the European games, where there perhaps isn't the same physicality as you have in the Premier League. And you've seen it, you've had players like obviously Damsgaard and Eriksen as well at Brentford under you. It can take longer for those flair players to just get themselves up to speed.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that a couple of things. Premier League is the best league in the world. It's also the most physical, not only in the duels, but physical in the pace of the game. It's so quick, and to adapt to that takes a little bit of time. And then I think some players, for whatever reason, just adapt a little bit quicker. That can, for whatever reason, if they're coming into a team that's in flow, they maybe adapt a little bit quicker. There can be a lot of things. So, and it's humans we are dealing with. The most important thing is their intentions and their work ethic and all that, and then it'll be step by step. And I think Xavi has taken some big steps, especially recent weeks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
So there you go, that was Thomas Frank there on the back of Spurs. Taking a point at home to Manchester City. Tottenham still searching for their first domestic win of 2026.
A lot of finger snapping there, Rick, wasn't there?
A lot of finger snapping. A lot of finger snapping.
Snapping tonight.
I know.
Quite snappy.
He was quite snappy, was the Dane there?
Couple of little jokes thrown in as well, but we worked on that in training yesterday for Dom's scorpion kick. Yeah, it's like, don't know, where can we buy tickets for his Edinburgh Fringe show next year? I mean, it's like he's really come out of his shell there tonight, hasn't he? Normally he's sending a glass eye to sleep, and he was listenable tonight.
Listen,
but
he's got
great intonation, Rick, when he speaks. It's it's a little bit down. I mean, I don't know. He just goes up here and then he goes back down here again. It's a little bit up here again and then down here. I don't know. I'd buy tickets for the show. Thomas Frank, the movie. Come on,
would you?
He's an interesting character. I mean, let's come on and talk about it. Before we do, guys, thanks again we've got over 8,500 in the 9,000 that are in here. I know a lot of people coming back from the game. So thanks as always for the support. We see a lot of comments of people coming back from the game that go there and then come back to then see the debrief. So thanks always for the support. If you can keep liking, hyping, subscribing to the show, that'll be great. I think we said it in the intro there, didn't we? And I'll come to you, Cracks, on the point of him because, I mean, hands up who really saw that coming in terms of coming back into the game. I mean, look, I suppose we have to say, like Marlon said, rightly or wrongly, fair play to Frank because it seemed like a case of how many would we lose by at half time. And I think for anyone that was following the Sky commentary, you know, Gary Neville's indictment of just how bad the atmosphere was in the Spurs stadium, for those that were catching the Sky commentary, you know, he was really saying what I think a lot of Spurs fans have felt going to that stadium pretty much a lot of the season. It has become such a toxic place to go. You know, you've seen more booing than cheering. Just, I think it's beyond anger now. It's almost apathy in terms of what you're expecting to go and see. But look, like Russ said in his intro, we saw a degree of hunger, balls in the second half. There was fight as well. I thought Simmons was exceptional. You know, and now Thomas Frank's side, that unbeaten in their last 4 games. So, I mean, Cracks, where are you on Frank? Is it a case now where it feels like, I think Russ said it earlier, that unless there is an absolute dramatic, you know, collapse in terms of the way in which the feeling is with the fans, which I think is already... Can I just say, I think the fans already made their mind up about what they think about Thomas Frank. But what I mean is, as soon as the players maybe jack it in terms of playing for him, I mean, is it really a case where you probably find Frank's going to be to the end of the season now, regardless? Unless, like I say, there's a dramatic collapse in terms of the way we're going to play over 2 halves. Because, again, we're still in this situation where... I have to keep saying it. I know we've got 12 players missing at the moment, so it's maybe hard to judge based right now when he's got so many players missing in terms of really scrutinising the manager. But for you, Cracks, where are you on him?
Well, Marlon was bang on the money with his analysis of that 2 versus 3 in midfield first half was never working, and we really got forced into the change of formation for second half and 2-0 down, backs against the wall, and we just went, oh, come on, let's go for it. So was that his doing, or just the doing of the situation, or just the players going, don't listen to him anymore and we'll just go out there and do what we're going to do? But I think he probably gets the rest of the season. To be honest, Rick, as you say, barring something absolutely disastrous happening with a run of results, but I think we will be lose a few, pick a point up here or there, and then lose a couple more and pick and scratch a couple more points and stay out of trouble. Like I said to you on the last show, Rick, that I don't think it will be us scraping our way out of the this sort of danger zone we're in. It's going to be more the others just keeping themselves in the shit, so to speak. Very similar to last season. But look, they're either playing for themselves or they're playing for him, because there doesn't seem to be any...
Which one is it, correct, in your opinion? Which one is it in your opinion?
Oh, I don't know. Place bets now, isn't it? You need to flip a coin.
I ask you that
because playing for him, Rick.
I'm asking that because you've seen a lot of Spurs teams over a lot of Spurs managers over a lot of Spurs years. So, in your opinion, you feel we still got those? It looks like he's still got those players on board, hasn't he? Or enough of them at the moment.
Enough of them, yeah. I think there is. I think there's enough of them still playing for him. A bit of both, I would probably think. But again, because in the second half, the crowd were given something to cling on to, they clung on to it. And the fans were absolutely magnificent. First half.
They were amazing, my fans. Yeah,
there was nothing from the stands because there was nothing from the pitch. This is like a two-way transactional thing.
Totally agree.
You give us something, and you get it back from the stands. I mean, God bless every man, woman, and child that turned up there today, given how things have been, and fans still go and get behind the team. It's like which is just brilliant. To be honest, the fans were fantastic today, absolutely fantastic. So, look, I think this is just to the end of the season, and then we see where we are. But again, all of this is interlinking locks of the players and the squad being good enough, a manager and him being good enough, and a board and those being good enough. So if you get to the end of the season and it's not going to be Thomas Frank any further, who do you trust on this board to go out and pick the next manager?
That's the problem.
Look, this is the problem, because those above him are clueless, absolutely clueless. And right now, when Daniel Levy said, I think fans will miss me when I've gone, it seems like he's bang on the money, because in the plot twist of this Netflix drama that we seem to live at Tottenham, he looks a little bit like the only guy that was holding back this damnation that is Enoch at the moment. Genuinely,
it does not really change at the moment with regards to the ownership.
Things were terrible under Daniel, and they've got even worse under this lot, because I don't know. We've gone from frying pan into the fire, haven't we? But it's just you wouldn't have thought that it could have got any worse, but it does seem like it has since he went. I don't know. Maybe with Daniel Levy there, he would have already sacked him and got a replacement in, either permanent or temporary, to see out the rest of this season. So, but I don't know, butterfly effect, isn't it? We don't make a decision now and something else happens in the season. Who knows, Rick? Maybe he starts to string a few results together and brings a few. Who knows? That's how mad football and the Premier League can be. It's but I do think he gets the rest of this season. Look, these fixtures you just put up there, Rick.
Yeah.
If we go Man U and get even a point there, and then all of a sudden we get a win against Newcastle that look a bit all over the place, and then get a point against Arsenal, 5 points out of those 3, even 4 points out of those 3, you'd go, okay, wasn't expecting anything at all out of that, nothing whatsoever. So all bets are off at the moment, Rick, as to how this is all going to pan out. It really, really is, because we can't see what direction we're heading, because we're so
we're like a one-half team, aren't we?
All over
I know
the
there's
place.
context with regards to injuries. I keep saying this, and again, I think I tried to be fair last season with Ange, that I always was saying at the start of every show last season, look at the amount of injuries Ange is having to contend with. But the feeling around Ange was that even with the injuries or without the injuries, it was quite erratic in terms of the way we were playing. There was massive gaps in terms of defence and midfield. And I think the thing with Frank is that it feels that he just simply hasn't scaled up. He doesn't appear to be a manager that's got the ability to handle a big football club, even by what he's coming out and saying. I think he said since the Nottingham Forest game, he's seen real, genuine improvement over 10, 11 performances. But then you're looking at some of these first halves thinking, are you seeing the same game that we are seeing as fans? I mean, Russ, I'll come over to you on that point, actually, because, you look at that first half, there is really no soul in the stadium. No. It feels that Frank, to some degree, has sucked that every ounce of excitement now going to the ground to watch the team. The fans are very much now, it feels like a chore. And I don't know whether you agree, Russ, there's a feeling maybe that, the players are maybe to some degree taking it into their own hands, shaking everything off, and they've really forgot what they've been taught, and they're going out there and basically giving it a go, because it feels like when this team try to play football, there feels there's something about them. But it feels like at the moment, I don't know if this is right or wrong me saying this is how I feel, that there is potentially a decent team laying under the mess that we see around Tottenham right now. I'm not saying it's a top 4 team. I'm not saying it's a title-chasing team. I'm saying that with all due respect, better manager who's equipped to manage a top club. I'm not saying we're an elite club, but I do think we're a top club. And with some decent additions of quality that we can add to this team, I don't think we are a million miles off because I'm seeing glimpses of quality. Is that fair, Russ, or do you think I'm overblowing this? Do you think the team are playing? Frank, can you see enough at the moment in this?
I think there's always an element that players sometimes go, right, lads, we know what to do, how to play football, let's give it a go. And that would be over and above what the manager says. I think, for us next season, not to have European football, it seems pretty likely for a club like Tottenham is fairly disastrous if that happens. 17th last season, in a precarious position, and Crackers was saying, we get a point here, maybe a win, then we'll lose a couple, and it's probably going to be the teams below us that keep us well above any form of danger. But really, are we seriously, as Tottenham fans of this football club, and with its history of playing the way that we've done and winning the way that we've done and failed gloriously in the way that we've done, but we've really enjoyed being there, are we really going to accept sort of the best we can do is 11th or 10th? I don't think many Spurs fans are going to be happy with that. So ultimately, it comes down to the manager, the recruitment that we've spoken about a lot. But take today, for example, I said at the start of the show, make no mistake, this is quite a poor City side. And it's a poor City side when you compare it to the brilliant City sides that won Premier League titles in the Champions League under Pep Guardiola. They're not quite working the way that we expect a Man City side to. So within that context, our players today, who are inferior players almost in every position to Manchester City, even the way they play today, did really well. So they should be applauded for that. And if the manager has got something to do with that, Rick, which you would hope that he would do, then in turn, he has to be applauded for that. So I think that's a little bit of positivity. But when we were looking at him in his press conference, when he said, against Burnley, we played a great game, but we drew. And if you remember before that game, it was a must-win game for Tottenham. And we were winning in that game.
About the mentality.
Yeah. Excuse me. And West Ham, we were kind of unlucky. Well, we lost at home to West Ham. To us, that is pretty unforgivable, really. And it can't just be brushed over. Today's performance, ironically, awful in the first half, much better in the second half, a wonder goal from Dom. But our group of players, player for player, are not as good as Manchester City. Obviously, you don't need to be a football brain surgeon to work that out. So they need, some form of encouragement for that. And I really think the players should get a round of applause. Yeah. But I say it again, and they might be second in the Premier League, Manchester City. They are a way off where they were, and they're not going to win the Premier League. And that is an absolute fact. And let's face it, we normally beat them. So as I said right at the very beginning of the show, disappointed we didn't get 3 points. And I believe if we'd have been a little bit more adventurous in that last 5 minutes plus 10 minutes of time added on, we did tend to hold back a bit, let them have the ball a bit. We could have nicked it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. Look, the reality is, Miles, coming over to you, we're unbeaten now in 4 under Frank. And he was asked on why his team can't play like in the second half for 90 minutes. And he said, I wish I could clip my fingers and do it like that. He thinks that he's seen a real genuine improvement since the Forest game and a consistency in terms of the way Spurs are playing. Do you share that notion, Miles? I mean, where are you? Because again, with Frank, it feels at the moment, like I keep on saying, that I think he's almost the caretaker of his own job right now. And it feels we're going to try and get through to the end of the season, barring really any massive collapse. And what I mean by collapse is not over one half, but over two halves, and the players really downing tools. That if you're going to sack him, you could have done it after Forest, could have done it after West Ham. It feels now we're going to try and get to the end of the season, aren't we, Miles, before making a call on the manager? Is that fair? How do you see it for you?
Yeah, I think I've always said from, even I wanted him kind of gone weeks ago. I've always said at the end, I think he'll be here till the end of the season anyway. Look, the performances have not been top class. We have been a second half team, but even under Conte, we were a second half team. It just seems to be the Spurs way. We've never been dominant for 9 minutes. To that
degree, Miles, I mean, some of the nature of the first halves.
I think because we were getting results under Conte, everyone's kind of forgotten that. But if we go back to that second half of the season before Conte got sacked and we were coming back from games, we were so much better in the second half. We kept calling ourselves second half FC. And I think the same happened with Ange and the same's happening now. It just seems to be a consistent thing at the moment where Spurs can't dominate for 90 minutes. And I heard you guys talking about the Burnley game earlier. Yeah, the result was poor. But actually, if you looked at the stats behind it, we were very dominant in that game. It's just that Burnley ended up scoring 2 goals against us because we were just poor defensively. But you take Frankfurt, like Dr. Tottenham, we was all expecting it on Wednesday, where we are now, on Wednesday. But actually, it was a really professional performance from the boys. So, and today, again, like I said, the first half, I'm not going to sit there and blame the boys for the first. I blame the tactics and the manager for the first half. But then he saw sense. Second half, we come back and played really well. So I can see why he's looking at performances, because the results at the moment and everybody going to the games, it's just not where we want it to be. And that's the biggest problem. Like, I'm not happy with the results, but can I see a change in the performance? I think since Dom's come back, it's been and that's where it's key. I think since he's come back into this team and he's pressing from the front, we just look so much better in the last few games. And we're making their defense make mistakes, which we're pouncing on, and we're actually scoring goals again. No matter how lucky they are, because if you take the Dortmund game, I don't think people realize how. I know they had a man sent off, and I'll take that into consideration. But that first half against Dortmund was a really good half. So I can see where he's coming from, but it's kind of in the sense of, let's see how the next few weeks go, because Manchester United, I watched that game today and I was a bit like, I'm slightly worried a little bit because they seem to be turning a corner. And Newcastle, I think if we play as we have done in these last few weeks, I think we can get a result there.
In the second half.
And in the second half, probably.
In the second half.
But the problem is at the moment, which I have to then, and look, I hate giving Frank excuses because I know that he should be doing a lot better, but the injury list,
we know it's
big.
12,
every time he thinks he's got a run of players, to have Danso go out today, Spence gone today, and you're like, I really at one point really wanted to know what he was going to put out, and the fact we didn't even think Odegaard was playing. Like I heard rumours that Odegaard.
Yeah, it was rumours Odegaard was out as well.
And Odegaard's the last month of Odegaard, to be fair to him, he's been absolutely brilliant. He seems to be like everyone goes, who has Frank improved? But Odegaard in the last month, you can sit there and go, actually, he's improved dramatically under Frank. Because every time he gets on that pitch at the moment, it's got that Aaron Lennon vibes when he gets on the ball.
You're not sure something.
Yeah. So I'm kind of looking at it going, you know what? We are where we are now. I can understand the atmosphere at the stadium, completely get it. I'm not going to sit there and say to the home fans, come on, get behind. Because as soon as we got that first goal today, and actually not even the first goal, as soon as they saw a bit of fight and momentum going forward and they literally got behind the team. And I think that carried most of the boys, because if Xavi, if Donnarumma doesn't make that save off Xavi, what great save, by the way. It was leading our way. And I think, to be fair to the boys in that last, and Russ is completely spot on where he goes, if that last 10 minutes they actually went for City, we would have got something. The problem was, as soon as you took Solanke off, the whole momentum kind of fell a little bit. And you kind of went, you know what, let's just get the draw and go home, because the way the first half kind of went, we were kind of all expecting the worst in that second half. And that's why he's got to look at performances, because he's either got because basically whether he's going to be Spurs manager or not, his next job, he can sit there and go, we've had performances, I just didn't have the players to get my style across. And that's what he'll probably say, because he needs to think about his future as well at this present moment. So that's probably where he's at. But let's see how the next month goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mystery, isn't it? We've taken 4 points in the 2 games with Man City, but performed so badly against Burnley, Wolves, and Sunderland. You know, let's see how he gets on. There's no doubt about it. There was a good second half performance, but we need to see more of the second half over the course of 2 games and obviously over the course of 2 halves. But again, we will make that point. Yes, he's missing 12 players, but there has been some positives. What it does for the club are trying their best to get to the end of the season if they can muddle their way before they make a change in the summer. Like Cracker said, who knows what that change will be, because you can never know with this ball what you can think or envision they're going to do. What seems the most logical appointment becomes the most illogical when it comes to what they will make their mind upon. Look, we're going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners and all that. We're going to get into Xavi Simons' performance, Conor Gallagher playing ever so well. Let's hear from what is current at the moment, Spurs' only signing, permanent signing. Actually, you had, of course, Sousa in that as well. He was on the bench. Let's hear from... It's tough times, guys. It's tough times. We're scrapping. We're looking for scraps. Let's hear from Conor Gallagher on the back of that 2-2 draw against Manchester City.
Conor, thanks for joining us in the rain. I bet off the back of that second half, you're barely feeling it now. What an impressive 45 that was from both you and the team.
Yeah, it was a brilliant second half. I thought we showed great character and personality to come back from 2-0, and I think all the credit goes to the boys, and we really put in the work, and I'm just really happy it came out in a good result in the end.
Yeah, there's no getting away from the fact that you've arrived into the team on what's been a difficult run for us in terms of results, but also in terms of injuries as well. When you get those periods in the second half where you feel the crowd go up and you feel this stadium rocking, does that make you just kind of look around and go, I'm in the right place, I'm doing all the right things?
Yeah, of course. You know, I understand the crowd's frustration at times, and all we want to do is win games and do what we can to win the game. And you know, as soon as we do something good at the start of the second half and the crowd's there with us, it makes all the difference. And that's a big reason why we were able to come back from 2 goals today. And yeah, I thought the crowd were brilliant in the second half.
Conor, talk to us about it tactically, because we're playing Man City, you're 2-0 down at half-time, you've got Marlon, so much Silva, so many players, Cherki, who could just do something in an instant, but you've got to chase the game. What's the tactics? How did we do it?
Yeah, well, we kind of went back to basics a little bit in the second half and went to kind of a 4-4-2 defensive shape, and just made sure we were, you know, really organised and made sure they didn't break us down. And when we pressed, we went together as a team. And I thought we won the ball back a lot more in the second half, and we're able to create a lot more chances, which was the reason why we got a couple of goals.
I'll let Ben ask you about Dom's goal in a minute, but just quickly let me ask you. There's a player who's starting to get on fire here, and that's Xavi Simons. You're playing alongside him in these sort of forward central areas. What are you seeing at the moment?
Yeah, brilliant player. Yeah, he's one of them guys that you want on your team. He works so hard, and he just wants to win. He has a lot of passion to give, and obviously a lot of quality as well. So he's only going to get better, and he's top.
He's an absolute appetite for the game, hasn't he? He just wants to play football, doesn't he?
Exactly.
You can see it.
Yeah, and that's why you want him in your team. He wants to get on the ball. He'll run forward. He'll create chances and he'll score. And yeah, he's great.
One of the things that we said to you when you first signed Conor was about your relentless work ethic and the way that you wanted to approach the game and be front-footed and aggressive. I think we saw that in Dom's goal. That's a 50-50 ball that you make a 70-30.
Yeah.
Is that something over the course of the next few weeks that you're just going to, I suppose, get that appetite for and just keep driving forward with? I guess there's so many big games to come. It's moments like that can define them.
Yeah, and you know, I want to play to my strengths, which is that side of my game, and I'm still getting back in the rhythm of things. You know, I've not been used to playing, 90 minutes very often, so I'm still getting back into that momentum. And no, today was a great step for me, and I'm sure I'll build on this and I'll keep improving and trying to help Tottenham.
So there you go. That was Conor Gallagher there on the back of Spurs rescuing a point against Manchester City at home thanks to a Dominic Solanke inspired second half performance. Thanks to the over now, nearly 11,500, 12,000 that are watching the show live. Many that are coming back from the Spurs stadium, we can see in our comments. Thank you so much for all your incredible support for the show. I'm joined by Broadcaster Russ Williams. I'm joined by Compere Richard Cracknell. I'm joined by Marlon over at the Spurs Kings. Guys out there, like, hype, subscribe to the show. We'll go straight into the team. Look, we'll come on to both the first half and the second half, and then we will close on what we would love to see on deadline day for Tottenham. In terms of the team that lined up for Spurs, like we said, they were really limited due to the number of players out. Tottenham, 12 senior players out for this one. And like Marlon said before the break there, we were actually unsure whether Wilson Odebear was going to make the squad, but he did. And he did come on in the latter part of that game. So Frank, in the end, made 4 changes. He, in the end, had to opt for the team of Vicario, Polina, Romero, Dragoshin, Gray, Gallagher, Basuma, Udogie, Kolo Muani, Xavi Solanke, and the sub-bench of Kinski, Tel, Odebear, Sarr, Souza on the bench for the first time, Ola Cisse, Kieran Matten, Byfield, and Roswell. One thing to add, I think it was for Dragoshin, his first start in over a year. And it's fair to say that in terms of the start to the game, we'll go to Marlon actually to start. It wasn't the greatest start 10 minutes in. We concede a goal where Basuma is caught on the ball. And I think this is why a lot of people felt with Basuma. This is why we should be trying to maybe move him on deadline day if you feel we've got enough players to field an 11 or a squad at the moment. Marlon, talk us through the goal because it was a real mess. He seems to get caught on the ball, City break at speed, Haaland brought down, but Cherki gets in a yard of space and fires home. Questions about Vicario's positioning as well, and also the position of the back five. Marlon, your thoughts on the goal itself?
Yeah, Basuma getting caught on the ball, you knew straight away. I think, again, he just didn't have anyone around him showing him anything. And this is typical Basuma. Like every time we've known Basuma to make mistakes, it's been these kind of mistakes where he holds on the ball too long. And again, we're just playing against a strong side where it kind of just gets out of nowhere. But I thought Dragoshin again probably could have shut him down. I'll be completely honest. It was a great finish. The only place he could have put it was in that corner, but it was avoidable. There was a lot of things that could have been avoided in that moment. But at the present moment, when you look at the whole situation, it was costly from Basuma because it originally comes from him just holding onto the ball for too long. Should have probably played it or just hoofed it away. And it was just one of them. When you're playing a team as good as City with the players they've got, you can't give them these sort of angles. And that, for me, that's where it all started. You know, it kind of followed the pattern of the first half after that, because before that moment, it was a bit end to end, and then you just saw City slowly coming into it, and Spurs kind of didn't find their feet till about half an hour in. So, but yeah, it was a great finish. I'm not going to sit there and get on Vicario. Dragoshin, for me, again, hasn't played for a year, as you said.
Yeah.
He's not. If you haven't played Premier League football for a year and you've got someone of that quality coming up against you, you're not going to be thinking. There's so many things you have to get into the rhythm of the game.
There was a feeling that maybe Dragoshin did back off too much, but again, maybe you're saying Marlon, he's been at the game for 12 months. I mean, look, after that, we had a couple of let-offs. Haaland lobbed over the bar. I mean, I think there was a feeling, and everyone agreed, it almost reminded me, because the amount of gaps in the team, it reminded me a lot of the Spurs 3 Liverpool 6 game under Ange, where it just felt like every time Man City went forward in that opening kind of 20 minutes, half an hour, it felt they could score every time. And that was the concern. There was, like you said, Marlon, a degree of, from the half an hour mark, we were going to come back into it. But Russ, to come over to you, Semenyo made it 2-0 on the 44th minute. And it was pretty predictable stuff, really, because from a Spurs perspective, many will ask, again, how we concede a goal of this nature, where, Dragoshin had it by the corner flag. His chip pass intercepted by Rodri, and suddenly there's a break on. It finds Silva, tees up Semenyo, and a defence.
All over the place.
All over the place, right? All over the place.
All over the place, yeah. I mean, the first goal, it was another goal that Vic let in from distance. There's been enough of them. He's made some brilliant saves this season. But this, there was an inevitability. He scored for Bournemouth against us, and here he is playing for Manchester City. Didn't really do much else in the game, but he got a goal against us. And, Dr. Tottenham was alive and well, 2-0 down, things not looking good. But sloppy goals. And, we heard the manager when he was on a few minutes ago saying, you know, we make a couple of bad mistakes. He said that a few times this season, so it tells me we're not really learning.
Yeah. Look, again, you've got some players there that arguably say they're not used to playing in the games, and maybe someone like Dragoshin, for example, unless his agent comes out on deadline day, which wouldn't be surprising, would it, if he's going to ask for a move? No, he's played a game for us. Who knows what's going to happen? Look, we go in at half time. It's 2-0. It's barely a contest, we're being honest with that. Spurs fans booing at half time. And then
you missed a bit. You missed a bit. And I think the fact it was 2-0, but you have to remember Vicario's save on Cherki was absolutely brilliant. And I know a lot of people are blaming him.
It's fair.
There's a lot of criticism.
It's a big save at a big moment, Marlon.
It was massive for how the game ended up going. That actually, if he doesn't make that save,
if it goes 3-0, you're right. It's definitely game over.
And it was kind of, and I know a lot of people are blaming him for the first goal and whatnot, and want to look at him and for what he's done this season. But that save on Cherki that he put, and he just gets hands to it, absolutely brilliant. And I'm not Vicario's biggest fan, so for me to even give him that, I have to give him his flowers for it because it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
but carry on.
Even the first goal, Rick, as well. Dragoshin shows him inside.
Yeah.
Yes, he shows him inside. And now, as a goalkeeper, you're thinking, well, there's no way my defender is going to show him inside. So Vicario's setting in a completely different way until Dragoshin shows him inside. So Vicario's already 70-30, thinking, okay, I'll set myself here because there's no way that's going to happen. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happens, and it gets a deflection. So, Vicario might not be... Look, there is upgrades out there on Vicario, but then sometimes this is the goalkeepers union, isn't it, Marlon? There is mitigating circumstances how to these things happened, and Luke's already said in the comments there, goalkeepers are scapegoat FC, aren't they? They really are. So there is little just these tiny little factors that come into play where you think to yourself, okay, that has happened because of that. So anyway,
I can see many of
goalkeepers union has come on you.
I can see many of Vicario's family members now coming to thank Marlon that we brought that up. Well done, Marlon. Well done. Vicario's family will be sending a card in the post of appreciation. Well done, mate. Top man.
No, not for what I've said about him in the past. They won't.
So second half, like Marlon said, there was a really important tactical adjustment made by Frank. Or whether you want to believe actually on that point, as what's been suggested on this show, the players just went rogue and did whatever they effing wanted to do, and they decided to go out there and try and play a bit of football. Romero taken off at half-time, potentially down to an injury, and Spurs get a goal back. And I think this is where we are going to celebrate a little bit over some of the goodness of that second half, because there were some really, really good performances. There was a nice ball from Xavi with the outside of his foot to Solanke, who cut inside and appeared to hit Guehi's foot into the ball, which bounced over the line. Russ, I want to ask you about this because I think you said, Russ, you think we're quite lucky, Russ, to get this goal?
Look, we needed it. We got it. Thank goodness. We've been on the end of toenail, VAR and silly stuff like that many, many times. But if you look at it, it does look as though Dom does go through on Guehi and the ball goes in off him, although the Premier League said it was a Dom Solanke goal, and we can't argue with them.
It's a Dom.
So the point I want to make is that we're all told that VAR is the be-all and the end-all, and I think most fans find it at best annoying, and at worst they absolutely hate it. But this was not looked at by VAR, and I think Pep Guardiola, who was absolutely fuming about it,
he was fuming after the game.
At the end of the game. You know, I'm trying to be independent, even though I'm glad it wasn't reviewed, because I think it might not have been a goal. He does have a point, and it's the bigger picture of VAR. You know, really has a tendency to be awful, doesn't it? I think we'd all agree, or most of us, on that. So Dom got the ball, then it came off Guehi, but Dom's leg went straight into the back of, or his foot into the back of Guehi, felt it, didn't he? I mean, he read his lips when he was on the ground. But VAR should, you know, because they're so righteous, aren't they? these officials should have looked at it, but they didn't, and thank goodness. So we'll take that one. We got one back.
We did get one back. And also, I will just say a shout out to Destiny Doggy with a sensational outside of the boot pass as well, involved in that move for those that didn't see it. A really lovely bit of play from Destiny. So then at that moment, we get the goal back, and up come the subs. Odobert and Tell replacing Basuma and Kolo Muani. A big cheer in particular for Tell. Be interested to see if Kolo Muani has played his last game for Spurs, although Thomas Frank in the embargo presser before the game was firmly adamant that he thinks Kolo Muani is going to be a Spurs player come the end of the transfer window. But we are hearing some potential noise that Juventus might be sparking a deadline day move for Kolo Muani. So we'll keep you posted on that in terms of if that's going to happen. And we come to Cracks to You, the Scorpion unbelievable king moment from Dominic Solanke, which, to be fair, at that point, the noise in that stadium erupts. And it just shows, doesn't it, when you've got the fans on side, what a difference that stadium can be. Because we know what it can be like, when the fans are on your side. And, some will liken it, to a moment of Klinsmann, where Gallagher, to be fair to Gallagher, we'll come on to in a second, he raced down the right, pulled it back. Solanke back flicks it into the top corner. I mean, it is, Cracks, an absolutely sensational finish from Dom, isn't it? Unbelievable finish.
Oh, it's just look. It's now getting a striker back in the team with a striker's instinct, the sort of thing that a striker does, and. He's in there. He's bought a lottery ticket and he's won the jackpot, hasn't he? He really has. It was sensational. It was a fantastic goal. This is what strikers will give you if you have the right type of player in the positions and you're not patching up a team and putting normally a defensive midfielder at centre back or somebody that's maybe an attacking midfielder up top. Then this is what you get. But the actual strike was sensational, and it is little moments like that just spark the crowd and just get everybody off their feet. And even more so that when you're really down in the dumps, when you get a moment like that, they really hit home, don't they? Because if most teams are here and you're really down here, when you get something that happens here, bang, that's a big, it gives you such a big spark. And that then sparks the rest of the team, doesn't it? Gallagher done what he done, nicks a ball, gets down the wing, throws in crosses, throwing himself about. And all of a sudden, you're on the front foot, they're on the back foot. And Russ was right. It was such a shame that he started to feel his ankle, because in that last 5-10 minutes, had he stayed on and didn't get that tweak on his ankle, you think to yourself, he may well have gone on to nick us that winner today. Really, really could. So we're just all hoping and praying now that ankle is just a slight knock. But sensational goal, absolutely sensational. And I don't know, just maybe that just sparked something now, Rick. Maybe it does. So but no, brilliant from him.
It's also a really important point, if I go to Miles on Solanke, that, Gallagher, he made that second goal. I think he battled for everything during the game. And that's one of the traits that I think really why Spurs have tried to sign Gallagher for many, many years, because he's a fighter. He's, I think, was he nicknamed, was it the Pitbull by Atletico Madrid fans? So I think, with Gallagher, he's not a progressive passer, but he's a player that will fight, will give you everything. And I think, again, that mentality of winning, being a dogged kind of player, again, he's a captain under Pochettino. I think captain as well, Atletico Madrid, I think under 21s as well for England. So he's a leader. And I think when games are going against you, you need that kind of player that is going to fight, that is going to hang in there. He's one you are going to have in the trenches with you. And I think that's what Spurs need, more of that type player. Miles, there are suggestions that the Solanke performance is probably one of his best, if not his best in a Spurs shirt, given the nature of the fact, you remember it before that knee injury. And maybe that's a reminder of, for those that look at the 60 million tag. Look, 60 million is a lot of money now. I think 60 million is the new 30 million. But is that a reminder for maybe some Spurs fans that question the price tag, why Spurs spent so much money on him? Because in this game, he really lifted the team. And look, there's very few players that have got the ability to do what he did in that moment, Miles. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair. But like I said, I think the whole situation with Solanke, he's very key to what Thomas Frank wants to do. And I don't think he got that. I think with Richarlison ran, but he wasn't quality, but he was scoring goals. Where Mawani, well, you can see there's quality there, but there's just he doesn't want to be here.
I'm not sure he wants to be here.
Yeah,
agreed.
And that's what he's showing us.
I thought though in this game, I thought he actually worked pretty hard for us. He ran at City's defence. I mean, is it enough? I mean, I don't know, but I didn't think this was a game I looked at and thought, God, he's not trying. I thought he was trying in this game.
I think when we have found the best of him is when he's up top with someone else. Like
Agreed.
I think if you today, and I think the last time we said he was good was when he was with Richarlison up top.
Agreed.
So it might be that's what we're seeing. But just going back on Solanke, I know we've got to be very careful with his injury because from the sounds of it, he has come back slightly earlier and he has been out for months. But if you saw what Frank said in that press conference, it was like, for him, it was like if Manchester City were missing Marlon for 6 months. So those are some big words that he's saying. So for me, at the moment, it's a case of let's see how the next few weeks go. Because actually, if Solanke is key to what Frank wants to do, I think we might get to see the Solanke that we paid the 60 million for that Areola had at Bournemouth and put his whole team around it when he was there. So it'd be quite interesting. But no, he's been playing well. The fact he's scoring goals as well. The fact we've been able to score goals. And I think a lot of us have not been complaining about the front three when he's been there. And I think that's what's key because we're like, we can't create nothing. We can't do anything. So it's going to be, look, Solanke deserves his flowers. He was one of them that we all said, a lot of people who said to keep faith with Frank were saying, wait till Solanke's back.
Yeah,
he was one of them. Him, Kulu and Maddison. So the first one's back and we've seen an improvement. So it'd be quite interesting. But going on Conor Gallagher, again, he wasn't my cup of tea 3 years ago. But where we are now,
we need him.
I was like, we need him. Completely need him. So I'm just like, look, and he played really well today in that second half. I thought he did indeed. Like again, as soon as he got help in that midfield, he was able to play his game. And he was more further forward because when you look at his performances for Chelsea and for Crystal Palace, he was always better as a number 10.
Agree.
So here we go again. When you start putting players in the positions they feel comfortable in, you kind of see that they then start to perform. And maybe it's just luck by crook that, we've got all these injuries and actually certain places have to go in these positions because let's go back to Archie Gray. Archie Gray played most of his time at right back at Leeds. And that's the reason where we signed him, even though he was meant to be this midfielder. And maybe he just felt comfortable playing at right back today.
I mean, it's another one, Miles, isn't it? He like Gallagher, like you said there about him, I thought Gray gave absolutely everything to the team. He was actually limping around the pitch in added time. I haven't actually saw that in added time for those that would have been at the game or watched it back. But it really was a fine display. And you could tell, I mean, that kid was absolutely knackered come the end of it. Dead out on his feet. He made a real lung-busting run in what it would have been on the 95th minute. But, again, he was giving everything. And it really, I thought, sparked the crowd into life of just how much energy that kid was showing. I know we've kind of come to that point now. We're asking players to run, to give us something. But, if that can spark others into life, then hopefully, Miles, it's a good sign. I keep on saying this. We need to have one or two. We are going to close that point about in one or two. Before we do, need to ask you, Russ, about Xavi Simons. A lot of people really impressed by Xavi. You spoke about him, Russ, in your intro to the show. I think, look, probably by far and away, along with Solanke, Spurs' best player and constantly wanting the ball, dribbling. Tottenham's first goal comes from an outside of the foot pass of Solanke. He set up Odebear in the latter part of the game. Just feels like he's now starting to run matches for Tottenham. And I keep on saying this. If you get better players around him, I think this kid is going to be a future superstar. And again, under the right manager, with better players around him, I think this kid could be really special. Russ, do you agree?
I certainly do. And I've said it consistently. I mean, he is a baller. He's a young player of great potential. He's got used to the physicality a bit more, I think, of the Premier League. I thought today he was excellent in the Champions League games. He was excellent. The only thing you could say is you now got to score some goals, Xavi, please, because you know, unless our central defenders score them or Dominic Solanke at the moment, nobody else seems to be chipping in. So that would be great, and I'm sure that the goals will definitely come. His contribution to the team, his distribution of the football, his work ethic, I think is really first class. And just going back to Dom Solanke, that incredible goal today, I think we can only judge him as a success for Spurs if for 1, 2, 3 seasons he's getting 20 plus goals per season. That is how we judge strikers. £6 million
striker. Yeah,
exactly. So he's been out injured a lot. Please stay injury free.
Yep.
And you know, the goals are starting to come, but other players have got to chip in with them. There's no doubt about it. And Xavi is one of those, and I'm sure he will.
Yeah, just crackers on Xavi. Look, he's a player that we're hoping how many years' time you'll be having him on your couch at some point and interviewing him saying what a guy this is. I mean, he looks like a special player, doesn't he, Cracks? He is what you describe as a Tottenham player. Looks like a baller, plays like a baller, worked really hard, and, you know, another day probably gets a goal or two. Do you think, you know, again, I'd make that point with a better maybe manager that's more suited to him and some good players playing around him, this could be a potential future star for Tottenham, Xavi Simons?
He's a bricklayer, Rick, and if he's getting a couple of odd carriers around him, like Conor Gallagher and like a Paulinho, that can go and do the dog work and give him the ball, then you're going to get something from him. But you can judge players and their potential and what they're beginning to do by seeing opposition fans' social media tweets. And I've seen a few in the last few days from Villa fans and from the mob down the road and some Liverpool fans saying it looks like Tottenham have got a player on their hands with Xavi Simons. And he just looks like he's beginning to get up to speed with things. He's getting, you know, a little bit of the run of what the Premier League's all about. Seems a really good grounded kid as well. So, yeah, I'll just give him a license to go and play football. I think he's just one of these players. Don't cage him up too much when he goes out there. Just give him the ball, let him float a little bit, let him just go and play football. And I think if he's doing that, then he's got a smile on his face, and then he is playing some football. So he's progressed. He's progressed really well. Has have a few. There's some green shoots of players we're beginning to see come through now. So no, but he was fantastic today. Well done, young man.
He was.
See you in 20 years' time on stage when I'm asking you inane questions in at some hotel function room.
Is that when I'm pushing you and Jason around in a wheelchair and doing this? Good
luck pushing me round. You're gonna want a little bit of power steering added to that wheelchair. Let me tell you.
The way we're going 20 years time, they'll be flying wheelchairs and flying cars. I won't worry about it, mate. Honestly, we'll be doing last one on Spurs up in space. I reckon. We take us tune in from Jupiter or Uranus.
Space cadets. Yeah. That's what we are.
Tuning in from Uranus rather than what we do now, which is just talking out of it.
The cheap Uranus gag. I knew it was coming.
There you go. That's what everyone was waiting for. That's what they paid the entry fee for. Right. Kind of really important other players to mention. I thought Pat Matassar made a really good impact, of course, on his return from winning in AFCON. I thought he played well when he came on. And we mentioned Odebear as well. Constant threat during that second half. And look, Tell came on. Got a decent cameo under his belt. He'll hope to see more game time. And that's what leads us now to the January transfer window. Don't all shut off. I mean, look, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. At this point at the time of recording, there's absolutely nothing
going
on around Tottenham. So what do we need? What do you expect to see? Marlon, let's start with you very quickly. Deadline day coming. Frank says we're active in the window. Although he said that Can I just say, for listeners and audio, Crackers has now put on a Halloween mask that looks about as scary as Tottenham's league position over the last 2 seasons with our points accumulated. Marlon, we'll
Looks
start
like
with
he's
you.
been on the jabs.
That could be
a
on
lot
the
of
way.
weight.
Marlon, let's start with you. What we started with, what do you reckon is going to happen on deadline day?
I think we will get one. I still think we'll get one. The thing that's really concerned me this window, and I know as Spurs fans we are really desperate for signings, but what's concerned me as a whole in this January transfer window is the lack of movement with most clubs, especially in a World Cup year. But I think for how many injuries are happening with other people's squads, and like it's not just us, it's everyone else. A lot of teams seem to be keeping their players now. Because like the whole January transfer window, I think if you look at it, how many clubs have really signed anybody? And that's what I'm looking at. And this is why I'm kind of like, has there been any players that have moved in this January that I'd like? There's probably been 2, but they both went to Manchester City. The other one was Conor Gallagher. Brendan Johnson, was the other one that left for big money. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if they've tried, but there's been a lot of pushback on players not leaving.
But they've told us if they've tried. They've tried for Semenyo. He's bloody just scored against us. And it's all very well trying.
Yeah. No. But how many players have actually moved? Like in this whole, as a Premier League as a whole, let's look at the Premier League. Let's not look at Spurs for a second. Let's look at the Premier League as a whole. There's not been much movement in January, full stop.
No, I agree. And
I think that's been very key. I think West Ham have probably made the most, and their 2 players were up front, and they've done okay. But again, it's really weird that nobody, like we've signed 2. We've signed a left back who was on the bench today. We have to remember we have signed a left back, and Conor Gallagher. Where it's just kind of like, where is this other player going to come from? It'd be interesting where it goes tomorrow.
Well, I ask you, Marlon, would you take Sterling on loan?
No.
Until the end of the season?
No. I'd rather sign nobody. Okay. I'll be honest. And
That's right.
Yeah, because Sterling has not been the same since Pep got rid of him.
Exactly.
It'd be pointless. It'd be absolutely pointless. Where's he? Who's he going to go in front of? It'd be a body that we don't need. We need bodies elsewhere. For me, but look, I'm not happy with the window. I'm not going to say I am happy with the window.
No.
But at the same time, I'm looking at the other perspective at the moment of, out of all the clubs that have signed anybody, I'm only jealous of 2 players, but they were never going to come Spurs. But at the same time, I'm looking at this. I was expecting this January to be full of signings because of the World Cup year and a lot of players not playing. The only person at the moment that looks like he might be moving, and hopefully we're in the conversation and in the next 24 hours, and hopefully it was discussed today, will be Mamouche. But that's only going to be a loan, I reckon, and I'll take him right now. He would be an absolutely great addition, but whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. Andy Robertson, I still don't know what's going on with that. I'm kind of like up in the air. So I do expect someone to come in tomorrow, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it's nobody. I won't be happy, but I won't be surprised.
Okay. Cracks will come to you, then we'll close with Russ. Cracks, deadline day. You expecting much? I mean, I don't think Thomas Frank's winding the wind down like Harry. Is he really going to be on deadline day? But what?
No, I think Marlon's absolutely spot on. Nobody's really gone anywhere anyway. And I'm very much in the camp of one of our own, Jason McGovern. Why bring in players for the sake of bringing in players? Because is that
what we'd be doing, Cracks, now? Do you think? Is that what we'd be doing on deadline day? Because, I mean, that's a very good point you make there, because I think if you look at the situation in the last 18 months, let's be real about it. Spurs originally went for Mawani, didn't get Mawani, ended up with Tell, and then went back for Mawani. So, and let's be honest about it, I think whilst we can see encouragement over Tell, who have now bought permanently, nothing would surprise me in the next 12, 18 months if neither of those players are at Tottenham. So does that, again, reaffirm your point with deadline day? Is it a panic window? Should we be wary of bringing in the wrong players, Cracks?
Exactly that. You shouldn't be having to do business in January, only real emergency stuff, if you like. And I know that we do need some bodies in, but not anybody. Just it's still got to be the right deal. And because if you bring them in, you've got to give them 3-4 years wages, like big lumps of wage. And this is what we're hearing.
Cracks, I think at the moment, what we are hearing is that the club will be open to a loan rather than a permanent. So
Yeah,
is it worth a gamble on a loan? Would it be worth a gamble if there's a right loan out there?
Loans make more sense, don't they? And I think on that last day as well, it's if something lucks out and falls in your lap, maybe Andy Robertson. If Liverpool can get some cover, then maybe that happens. Sterling, forget it, not interested. Marmoush would be a good loan for us, I think. And then other than that, just leave it alone. Just leave it the hell alone, unless you get that phone call at 4:00 for somebody on loan that makes absolute sense. Otherwise, just leave it. Just leave it. Look, it's been a stinker of a season domestically thus far, but it's been even more of a stinker for other teams. And I don't think we're looking over our shoulder, but we're not in real danger. So the players that we have got, I think will see us okay to the end of the season. And then in the summer, that's when there's some real big changes that need to happen. The squad upstairs and everything. So yeah, at the moment, unless something makes absolute sense, just leave it alone, because you could end up just bringing in somebody and you're like, oh, well, now we can't buy this player because we bought this one who's been absolute dog and we're giving him 200 grand a week. So we're just better off leaving it alone unless it really suits.
Cracks, thank you so much. Russ, to close with you, I think I actually asked you about this, Russ. Vinay Venkatesham, he come out mid-transfer window and said we're upping the wage structure. Right. We are looking to improve in the squad.
Yes.
This club and timing is unbelievable, really. I mean, look, we go from wanting communication to then getting the communication to then thinking we got it at the wrong time. So everyone knows that we've got money because the money was there for Semenyo. It was there previously in the summer where we tried to get Guehi. And we entered the transfer window on the final day really kind of looking for the right opportunities. And obviously the fact we've got the other sporting director in Fabio Paratici 1 foot out the door, where currently 3 deals have been done for Fiorentina so far this window. I wonder who's done those deals for Fiorentina. They've done 3 so far. Russ, we'll close with you. What are you expecting on deadline day, if anything?
Well, I agree with Crackers that, probably nothing is going to happen. But I do think in the summer we're going to need a squad enema for a good old flush out of the ones that need to go. I think the only new face we're going to see this transfer window, Rick, is the one Crackers had on about 5 minutes ago. Which was a skeleton mask for those listening in audio.
That's about as exciting as it could get. Okay.
Yes.
Well, on that basis then, Guy, if the squad remains the same, just final question. I mean, Marlon, what would you expect then? What is a reasonable expectation for the remainder of this season? We are into, obviously, the Champions League, what do you want to call it, knockout stages. We are currently, forgive me, this league table's killing me to look at it. It's killing me. We are 14th in the Premier League. I mean, what are we? We are 5 points off 8th place at the moment. 7 or 8 off the top 6. I mean, Marlon, what realistically is the expectation given if this window is what remains and we don't add to the squad? What is the expectation?
Probably 11th finish. It's really weird because you look, we're 10 points off. Is it 10 points off Liverpool, 9 points off West Ham? Liverpool in 6th, West Ham are in 18th. So it's literally
10 points off at the moment. 10 points.
Yeah, and it's kind of, how do you look at it? Do you look at it in a positive way or do you look at it in a negative way? Which one can we catch? Which one's can West Ham realistically catch us? Which way are we going? Look, that's why today's point is quite important. No matter how much we want to look at it, it's a very important point. But I would probably say, look, 12th, 10th, because the result. Look, if looking at the way Frank's season has gone, we're going to get something up here in the middle, and then we'll get a low performance. It's just up and down as it is. Yep. And the squad, look, we all know the squad's not good enough. We've got players falling. Players I think we're trying to sign as well. Some players even that we tried to sign in this window have got injured. Yeah. So it's just kind of like, let's just see how this season pans out. Okay. But 11th, about 10th, 11th, I reckon we could finish realistically.
Miles, thank you so much. We'd love to be back on the show. You've been a diamond.
Thank you to everyone. The last word on Spurs and the audience. They've been brilliant tonight, actually.
Unbelievable.
They've been absolutely brilliant.
Thanks to the 15,500 that have been with us. Unbelievable. Call that stadium probably be on this show. Unbelievable. I have to watch that and come back and do this. So sorry for everyone involved. Cracks, gut feeling, season expectations now. If the window remains the same, if we're not going to add, what's the expectations this season?
Bumble along and pretty much be where we are, to be honest. Maybe something between about 14th and 10th or 11th, or it would just be that. But we'll be in Europe next season, Rick, because we'll just go along and we'll win the Champions League. But
that's what I can always be like.
Rick, would it not? Honestly, it would
Nothing
not
surprise
you, would you?
No.
It just really wouldn't surprise you.
And then we're going to sit here in May going, we can't sack Frank, can we? He's just going to win a European trophy.
Look, I always say, me and my lad Tom speak about this, and you can put all the Star Spangled this, that, and the Champions League anthems on things and this, that. At the end of the day, that's a cup competition. And when you get down to those one-off games, I mean, even the season we actually made the final, that was just bananas. We were dumb versus City. We were dumb versus Ajax. But
we couldn't win the away game in 9 months, did we? Or couldn't win the away game.
And then even in the final itself, because there was that mad all over within 30 seconds. But the rest of the game, Liverpool were a dog with fleas. We were a dog with fleas. And if we'd have turned up and that hadn't happened, it could have all been very different. So honestly, that is the nuts nature of this club and football. So relegated and win the Champions League. Come on, there's your Netflix series.
Honestly, I know season 3 was better than season 2, but no one can even write that script. Surely,
no.
Russ closes off. What's the expectation for this season?
I believe, Reverend Rick, we're going to finish around about 10th or 11th, and to be serious, that'll be 2 seasons of really sub-Spurs football. Something's got to change, and we know what's got to change.
Upstairs, got to change. Yep. Listen, broadcaster Russ Williams, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for watching and listening, folks.
Thank you so much. Listen, we are going to be back on deadline day. We'll be taking you through the day. Potentially, you may see these 3 beautiful faces alongside me at certain times of the day, although Russ is not looking hopeful about that. I don't blame him. Listen, thank you to the 15,500 that have been with us for this one. And we are going to, of course, see you through again to the end of the season. I find it mad we've been doing this for 8 years. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Bravo, Rick.
I've definitely Asian this. I mean, Russ is halfway through. He's done 4. I think Marlon's in his first
couple.
Bravo,
Rick. You do a great job, mate.
No, listen, mate.
Dear leader.
Team effort, honestly. Cracks has been with for the majority of them. That's why I need to hand it back to Crackers every now and then.
I've only been here 2 seasons, Rick. It just feels like 8. These last couple,
It does feel like we're kind of in that warp, don't we? You never know what's going to come next with this football club. But thank you to the wonderful audience. Thanks for all the encouragement, the questions. And again, I know, like Russ said, it's been a difficult, back-to-back seasons here, what's going on. But we showed a degree of fight there in terms of that second half. Let's hope that's the way forward. Listen, from Marlon, from Russ, from Cracks, from me, we've been the last word on Spurs. Let's see if they've got a rabbit to pull out of their hat on deadline day. Not literally one. Well, nothing will surprise you with this football club. From us all, keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.